999 ancient stone steps. A 45-degree angle that would make most hikers think twice. One very confident car company with something to prove. And absolutely everything that could go wrong, going spectacularly, catastrophically wrong on camera for millions to see. Welcome to the story of how Chery tried to copy Land Rover's homework, and somehow managed to break a historic monument, create a viral disaster, and hand their competitor the best free advertising they could ask for. This is marketing gone wrong on an epic scale. Let's dive in. Let's rewind to 2018, because understanding why Chery wanted to do this stunt requires knowing what Land Rover pulled off. Land Rover had just given the Range Rover Sport a facelift, and they needed a marketing moment that would make the world stop scrolling and say, wait, what? They needed something audacious, something that screamed luxury and capability in equal measure. Something that would prove their SUV wasn't just a fancy grocery getter for wealthy suburbanites. So they took their 404 horsepower Range Rover Sport P400e plug-in hybrid to Tianmen Mountain in China's Hunan province. Now, if you haven't heard of Tianmen Mountain, let me paint you a picture. At the end of this mountain's winding road, which is already famous for having 99 hairpin turns, sits Heaven's Gate, a natural stone arch that's become the stuff of legend. But to reach it, you have to conquer 999 steps. And these aren't your average stairs. They're arranged at a brutal 45-degree angle, stretching across 715 feet of unforgiving ancient stone. Some sections exceed 60 degrees. The steps are narrow. They're worn smooth by countless tourists. And they were never, ever designed to have a 2-ton luxury SUV climbing them. And here's where Land Rover separated themselves from everyone who's ever said, "Hold my beer," before attempting something stupid. They didn't just show up with a car and a dream and a camera crew. They treated this like a military operation. They hired Ho Pin Tung, a professional driver from the Panasonic Jaguar racing team, someone who actually knew what they were doing behind the wheel. They built a complete replica of the stairs back in their UK engineering center and tested the vehicle on it repeatedly. They ran over 1,000 hours of durability testing to make sure nothing would break at the worst possible moment. Then, 3 months before the actual attempt, they made 20 separate field visits to Tianmen Mountain. 20 trips. They weren't just scouting Instagram angles, they were collecting data on friction coefficients, measuring slope variations, understanding how weather affected the stone, analyzing how their tires would interact with every surface. When the day finally came, that Range Rover didn't just climb, it conquered. Steel cables stretched from the base of the mountain to the summit provided both traction and safety throughout the entire ascent. The vehicle moved with deliberate, calculated precision. Each step was controlled. Every movement was intentional. It was less of a stunt and more of an engineering demonstration. And it worked perfectly. The Range Rover Sport became the first, and for the next 6 years, the only vehicle to ever reach the top of those 999 steps. The video went viral. The marketing impact was enormous. Land Rover owned that moment in automotive history. Fast forward to November 2024. Chinese automaker Chery has just launched the Fulwin X3L, an extended-range electric SUV that's actually pretty impressive on paper. It features a range extender plug-in hybrid setup with dual electric motors pumping out 422 horsepower and 372 pound-feet of torque. Pause for a second, that's actually more power than the Range Rover had. More horsepower, more torque, newer technology. The Fulwin X3L isn't some budget knockoff. This is a legitimate vehicle from a legitimate company. November 12th arrives with clear skies and perfect conditions. The stage is set. Tourists gather at Tianmen Mountain to watch history in the making. Cameras are positioned at multiple angles. The Tianmen Mountain scenic area actually closes the staircase for this special event. This is official, sanctioned, and everyone's expecting something spectacular. The Chery Fulwin X3L sits at the base of those 999 steps, all 422 horses ready to run. All-wheel drive engaged. Dual electric motors humming with electric power and potential. The driver takes a breath. The signal is given. And the ascent begins. At first, it's actually working. The SUV climbs steadily, eating up steps one by one, looking confident and capable. The electric motors provide instant torque, one of the advantages of EVs. The all-wheel drive system is distributing power to all 4 wheels. People are watching, phones are out, and TikTok is about to get some amazing content that'll boost Chery's brand recognition into the stratosphere. The vehicle continues climbing. 20 steps. 50 steps. 100 steps. It's looking good. Really good. Then something shifts. Subtle at first, but unmistakable to anyone watching carefully. The vehicle starts swaying. Left to right. The smooth climbing motion becomes less smooth. The confidence seems to waver. The Fulwin X3L is still moving forward, but now there's a bouncing quality to its movement. It's hopping slightly on the steps instead of maintaining constant contact. The climb slows. The swaying intensifies. And then, the moment every engineer dreads and every marketing executive has nightmares about, the SUV stops moving forward. And then gravity remembers it exists. The SUV starts moving backward. Not slowly. Not controlled. Just sliding. Down a 45-degree angle. On ancient stone steps. Completely out of control. Tourists gasp. Someone screams. Cameras are still rolling, but now nobody's excited about what they're capturing, they're documenting a disaster in real time. The Fulwin X3L picks up speed as it careens toward the bottom. The driver is helpless, at this angle, on this surface, with this momentum, there's nothing anyone can do except hold on and hope. The SUV veers right as it slides, bounces onto a flat section with a violent jolt, and then smashes directly, into one of the ancient stone walls lining the stairs. The sound echoes across the mountain. Stone pylons collapse and tumble. Part of the historic guardrail, which has stood for who knows how long, crumbles under the impact. Silence. Shocked silence. Then the murmur of hundreds of tourists processing what they just saw. This wasn't just a failed marketing stunt. This was a catastrophe. The video spread faster than the SUV descended. TikTok, Weibo, Twitter, YouTube, within hours, everyone's watching Chery's marketing dream turn into a nightmare in real time. The algorithm god smiled upon this disaster and pushed it to millions of viewers. And here's something interesting about the modern age, you can't hide from this. There's no burying it. No calling in favors with newspapers to kill the story. It's out there, forever, viewed by millions, shared by thousands, memed into oblivion. Chery's social media accounts light up with comments. Some sympathetic, many not. The story spreads beyond automotive circles into mainstream news. Chinese automaker damages historic site in failed stunt, makes headlines. It's exactly the kind of publicity you don't want. And to their credit, Chery doesn't try to hide or deflect, at least not initially. On November 13, barely 24 hours after the incident, they issued a public apology. They promised to repair the damage to Tianmen Mountain. They'll provide compensation to the scenic area. They own the fact that something went terribly wrong. That's actually the right move, acknowledge, apologize, make it right. But this is where things get interesting and contentious. According to Chery's official statement, the problem wasn't the car. It wasn't insufficient power. It wasn't poor planning or inadequate testing. They claim there was an unexpected detachment of a shackle from the safety rope's anchor point. The rope wrapped around the right rear wheel, physically blocking power output, which caused the vehicle to lose momentum and begin sliding. Basically, the one system designed to prevent disaster became the disaster itself. The safety rope betrayed them at the worst possible moment. Now, that's technically plausible. Mechanical failures happen. Anchor points can fail. Equipment malfunctions. These things occur even with the best preparation. But the internet? The internet wasn't buying it. Let's talk about what really separates a successful stunt from a viral failure, because this is where the story gets fascinating and educational. When Land Rover tackled those stairs in 2018, they weren't just relying on horsepower. That steel cable running from base to summit wasn't just a safety measure, it provided actual mechanical traction throughout the climb, ensuring that even if wheel grip momentarily failed, the cable would prevent exactly what happened to Chery. Watch the video side by side. The Land Rover moves with deliberate slowness, steady, calculated, almost boring in how controlled it looks. Every movement is intentional. Constant ground contact. No bouncing, no swaying, no drama. Now watch the Chery footage. The Fulwin X3L moves faster, more aggressively, and starts bouncing, literally hopping on the steps. Once your vehicle starts bouncing, you're in trouble. Airborne tires mean no traction. No traction means you're not climbing, you're just riding momentum and hoping it carries you through. Several commentators pointed out that even without the rope malfunction, the Fulwin X3L was already struggling. The swaying suggested unoptimal torque distribution. The bouncing indicated the power delivery wasn't smooth enough to maintain constant ground contact. Land Rover's cable remained under constant tension throughout the entire climb, never detaching. Chery's rope failed at a critical moment. And the way the Fulwin X3L slid afterward suggests either panic or fundamental loss of vehicle control, neither of which inspire confidence. This stunt was supposed to position the Fulwin X3L as a serious off-road contender, proof that Chinese automotive engineering had arrived. Instead, it became a viral cautionary tale about corporate hubris. Chinese social media roasted them mercilessly. One comment cut particularly deep: Chery's factory shares the same complex as Land Rover Jaguar, but Chery thinks of itself as Land Rover. Every view of Chery's failure drove people to rewatch Land Rover's 2018 success. Chery accidentally handed their joint venture partner the best free publicity imaginable, 6 years after the original event. Meanwhile, potential customers don't think, just a rope malfunction. They think, that vehicle couldn't handle it. Fair or not, that's the perception, and in marketing, perception is everything. This wasn't just bad publicity, it was an association with destruction of cultural heritage, with reckless corporate behavior, with failed engineering. Those are brand associations that take years to overcome. This incident fits into a larger pattern in automotive marketing that's worth examining, because Chery is far from alone in attempting extreme stunts for viral attention. Companies across the industry are increasingly attempting dangerous, spectacular challenges to capture attention in a crowded market. From cliff edges to deserts, from frozen lakes to mountain passes, from speed records to endurance tests, everyone wants their viral moment, their "did you see what they did with that car" moment that spreads organically online. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. Stunts and demonstrations have been part of automotive marketing since the industry began. They prove capability, they create excitement, they give people something to talk about. But there's a crucial difference between testing that validates engineering and spectacle that prioritizes content above all else. There's a difference between demonstrating capability and hoping for it. The Chery Fulwin X3L will try again. The insiders said so. Better all-terrain tires, revised torque distribution programming, new pitch angle monitoring for the suspension system. Maybe they'll succeed this time. But they'll never erase that first attempt. That viral slide backward down ancient stone steps. In trying to copy Land Rover's legendary moment for themselves, Chery created their own legend, just not the one they wanted. Instead of the Chinese automaker that matched Land Rover, they became the company that broke Tianmen Mountain trying to be Land Rover. Land Rover spent years preparing. Chery spent months hoping. And in the end, those ancient steps delivered judgment on which approach actually works.